Today's learning target is I can compare and order fractions, decimals, and percents. Today we're going to be asked to write percents as decimals. Now we remember from yesterday that percents means per 100. So in this case 16% would be 16 per 100 or over 100. And we also know that this line here means dividing. So when I divide by 100, that's really easy to do mentally, because all I need to do when I divide by 100 is to move the decimal 2 places to the left. Now we don't see a decimal. When we don't write the decimal, we know it's always right at the end of the number, and I move it 2 places to the left, so it goes 1, 2, and I place the decimal right there. So I would get 16 hundredths, just like that. So I'll do the same thing here with 9%. That's going to be 9 100ths, okay, which is 9 divided by 100. So I have 9, my decimal is right there. I move it 1 spot to the left and 2 spots to the left there. So that's where my decimal ends up. I need a placeholder 0 in there. So as a decimal, I get 9 hundredths, just like that, with my decimal at the end. When I have a percent that's less than 1, like we see here, I have 0.7%, I do this exactly the same. So I'm going to be moving the decimal place 1, 2 spots to the left. So I need to put my decimal in there, so I'm going to get 7 thousandths would be the percentage, or would be the decimal, excuse me, for that. With this one, 537%, okay, the same thing. I know my decimal in this is right here. I got to move it 1 spot to the right, to the left, excuse me, 2 spots to the left, so it's going to end up right there. So I would get 5 37 hundredths. When asked to write a decimal as a percent, okay, remember I need to get now my decimal into per 100 here. So 2/10 in this case would be this. I want to get this into something into 100ths. Okay, now I know that if I times both these by 10, I would get 20 100ths, 20 per 100, so that would be 20%. So once I write this decimal as a fraction and then get it into hundredths, then it becomes easy to know what the percentage is. The other way to look at it is I just moved the decimal, I timesed it by 100. So 1, 2 spots over, and that would give me 20%. So in this one, remember that each whole number is 100%. So this 3 is really going to be 300%, and then I have 84 100ths, right? 84 hundredths, that's how I would write that. So this would be right here, 84%, and then I add that 300 to it, so I have 384% is how I would write that. Or another way I could look at it is move that decimal 1 place to the right, 2 places to the right, and I would have 384%. When we're asked to write fractions as percents, I'm going to start here with an easy one. This is one that you maybe already know. So 1/2, you probably know that's the same as 50%. Okay, but here's how I can do this, how I can figure this out when I come to a fraction where I may not know the percent. All right, so if you think about this, if we turn this fraction into a decimal, okay, I know that 1/2 is, as a decimal, 0.5. So to get that to a percent, I'm going to times it by 100, because remember, percent means per 100. So to do that, I would times it by 100. That means I move the decimal 2 places to the right. So I've got to have my placeholder in there, and so I now get 50%. Okay? So now when I have a fraction like this, 5/8, that I don't know what the percentage is, first thing I need to do is divide it out. And I got 625 thousandths when I did that. So my next thing now is I'm going to take that 625 thousandths, and to get it to a percent, I'm going to move that decimal 1 place to the right, 2 places to the right, so it belongs right there. So I would get 62.5%. So in this one here, 7/9, when I divide that out, I get 7/10 repeating. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to do, so there's my decimal, 7/10 repeating. I'm going to move the decimal 1, 2 places to the right, and then typically it'll say round to the nearest, and it might give us tenths or hundredths. So if it just said round to the nearest tenths, I would have 77 point, now to round to the nearest tenth, okay, it's going to be right here, and I know it's a 7 here. I'm going to round that up then to 8, so 77.8%. In the assignment today, you're going to be asked to write lists of numbers in order from least to greatest, but sometimes you may come across from greatest to least. When you do that, okay, you can see we have 3 different formats. We have a percentage, we have a fraction, and we have a decimal. In order to order these, we want to get all of these into the same type of number. So you could change all of these into percentages, you could change them all into fractions, or you could change them all into decimals. When I look at this one, I would change all these into decimals because this one's already at a decimal. 18%, I can do that as a decimal very quickly by what I did earlier in this lesson. And 1/8, I know how to get that into a decimal. So once I change all these into decimals, then I'm going to be able to compare them and put them in order.
And now I write those decimals and I line the decimals up and I fill in zeros for the placeholders. And now it's easy to tell here which is the largest number. I start with the largest place value. I can't tell. Okay, here it's down to these two. And I go to the next place value over, and this is going to be the largest. Okay, this would be the second largest, and this would be the smallest.